Hello and welcome back. In today's video, I want to talk about the Lunar Chronicles series and its companion books. First off, I want to point out and make clear that I read these books in my early 20s to mid-20s, quite a while ago, when this series was just coming out or had just completed. I don't think including the companion books just yet. However, though my taste in reading has changed a little bit since then, I would still highly recommend this series to like preteens, teenagers, young adults, or even adults if they like fairy tale retellings or Disney fairy tales, as this series of books are futuristic retellings of fairy tale characters. Especially in my very early 20s, at the time I was very much obsessed with anything and everything Disney. It sort of died down in my mid to late 20s. But when I did read these books, I was a very, very big fan. The first book in the series is called Cinder, and I'm sure you can guess which fairy tale character this one is about. That's right, Cinderella. Cinder is a 16-year-old cyborg girl, part machine. And in this world, cyborgs were feared, they were looked down upon, they were discriminated against. She lives with her stepmom and two stepsisters. She was also treated poorly. However, I think one of the stepsisters was nice and Cinder was kind of close with. So that was a nice, heartwarming thing that I liked. So Cinder works as a mechanic, and one day the Crown Prince of New Beijing came to her for help to fix one of his droids. Droid or android? It had some important information that he needed, and he wants her to get it fixed because apparently she is like really good at what she does. But the story overall is about Queen Lavana. She is queen of the moon, and she has these lunar powers that allow her to get into people's minds and control them. And she is wanting to marry this Prince Kai, so that she can be in a position of power on Earth. Now, I don't want to spoil how and why Cinder becomes involved in the political drama and the war, but I will say that whenever I talk about this series, I always remember why I liked it so much. Sometimes I feel like after a certain amount of time of not thinking about the series that I've kind of grown out of it, but when I talk about it, it sounds fun. Like when I'm just explaining it to people, or talking about it with a friend who had just recently finished it, it sounds fun. Having read this a long time ago, it's still a series that I find hard to part with. I can't get rid of it. Also, the covers are really pretty. I like them. These are the original covers. The covers now are illustrated. I think one of the reasons why thinking about this series gives me such a good, resounding feeling is because I felt like I had discovered a treasure at the time. I had seen Cinder, I had seen this cover in A Book's a Million, and as I said before, I was Disney obsessed, and I obviously, you could put two and two together. This is a Cinderella retelling. I read the back and it just captured my attention immediately. So the back even says, even in the future, the story begins with once upon a time. Okay. Humans and androids crowd the ruckus streets of New Beijing. A deadly plague ravages the population. From space, a ruthless lunar people watch, waiting to make their move. No one knows that Earth's fate hinges on one girl. 16-year-old Cinder, a gifted mechanic, is a cyborg. She's a second-class citizen with a mysterious past and is reviled by her stepmother. But when her life becomes intertwined with the handsome Prince Kai's, she suddenly finds herself at the center of an intergalactic struggle and a forbidden attraction. Caught between duty and freedom, loyalty and betrayal, she must uncover secrets about her past in order to protect her world's future. Because there is something unusual about Cinder, something that others would kill for. Yeah. So I couldn't say no to this at the time. This was like a must-have read, like 10 years ago. Also, at the time, I wasn't seeing it on Instagram or Bookstagram. I think Bookstagram was just born. Yeah, so to me, I had found a treasure. After I had read it, I was like, this is really good. I wonder if people know about this. Obviously, people did know about it. After maybe reading the second or third, I want to say maybe around the second book, when I was reading it, is when I would kind of, or did I finish it already? I think I had finished this series actually until I started seeing it like all over Instagram. This was before I knew Bookstagram was a thing actually. Anyway, you can tell by the covers that each book introduces a fairy tale character. Obviously, this one is Cinder. The second one is Scarlet, and obviously a reference to Little Red Riding Hood. As you can tell from the cape part of the hood. Hooded cape. It's a hooded cape. It's a red hooded cape. It's a Little Red Riding Hood. The third book is Cress, which you could tell by the hair is a reference to Rapunzel. So obviously each book introduces a new character, but it still revolves around Cinder and everything happening in the first book. I loved how each character got their own book, their own backstory, and their own place in this world. I love that they weren't just useless characters that were just thrown in to be considered a fairy tale retelling. Kind of like how Once Upon a Time, the TV show, I felt like they threw in just a bunch of fairy tale characters, which was fine. But after a certain point, it was like, oh, this fairy tale character is in the show, but really does nothing for the show. Like, yes, they have their own episode, but anyway, they each played important roles in helping Cinder and Kai and themselves to keep Earth safe and to make it better. My overall thoughts and opinions, as far as I can remember them, when I first read them years ago is that I thoroughly enjoyed each book. I felt like all the characters were connected pretty flawlessly. The story was very interesting, and the drama and the fighting and the surprises and the twists were all done very well. The only issue I can recall having is that sometimes the drama and the romance was a bit cringe, but I think it was mostly based off of just one set of characters, not all of them, and certainly not all of the time. And then came some companion books. I believe the first one to have come out was Fairest. The next one was probably Stars Above. And then we have Nerve and Wire. Oh, what is it? Wires and Nerve graphic novels. And these ones I remember much less of. Close to nothing. Ferris is all about Lavana. It takes place way before the Lunar Chronicles timeline. This goes into Lavana's upbringing, I believe, and into adulthood. So it's about her life, how she was brought up, how she became evil, why she was so power hungry. Also, to get into this one, I don't think that it's necessary to read the Lunar Chronicles first. Obviously, it would help to have some context, but you do not necessarily need to read this first before getting into the Lunar Chronicles series. Stars Above, which I also don't remember a single thing, but apparently there's 9 stories in here, all of which revisits the characters. So I would recommend reading this after having read the Lunar Chronicles, because if you're going to revisit the characters, you're going to want to know what they are continuing on from. I think by this point I was just buying everything Marissa Meyer was putting out. And then you have Wires and Nerve, which I'm pretty sure I bought. Like I just said, I was buying everything that she was putting out, but at the same time, the art style for this is really nice. I like it. And the dust cover is very sleek and plasticky and smooth, and I don't know, just the colors, everything about this was, I bought it for looks, okay? If I'm remembering correctly, I didn't hate it. I thought it was cute. I think by the time these came out, I was in my late 20s. So they were already definitely getting a bit too young for me. I was outgrowing them, pretty much. But overall, I enjoyed all of it. I liked the experience. I don't think I had many series that I loved at the time. So picking this up, it was not very fantasy heavy. It was very easy to follow along. The story and the characters, because there's quite a bit of characters to follow. Anyway, that is the Lunar Chronicle series. Thank you for watching, and thank you for watching. I swear, one of these days I'm going to get better at saying goodbye to the camera. Peace.